Hi and welcome to Positive Abundance Manifestation. Today we're going to be speaking about loss, and I've been putting this video off for a while because in recent month or so I've suffered my own loss, and this was always going to be a hard one to do. But loss is an inevitable part of life, isn't it? So whether it's a death or of a loved one, or it's a relationship breakup or friendship breakup, a major life change, or loss can be challenging and difficult to, or painful even, to navigate. But with the right positive mindset and the tools that we've been teaching you, we can not only survive loss, but we can thrive from it. In today's video, we're going to explore the theme of loss and how to find resilience, hope and inner peace. Also, how positive mindset can help you get through loss and actually build your positive mindset further. So we'll look at the practical strategies of coping with loss, turn it into an opportunity for growth, using mindfulness to find inner calm. They're the main two avenues for where we can increase our positive mindset after a loss. But before we start, I ask that you make a comment. Tell me what you want to hear me talk about, anything in relation to positive mindset, positive behavior management, positive parenting, positive classroom management, anything like that. Tell me how you'd like my videos, and don't forget to subscribe, like and share them if you do like them. Okay, so firstly let's just talk about what loss is and how we can navigate it. So when we talk about loss, as I highlighted before, it refers to the experience of losing something or someone that we value, whether it's a person, a possession, a job, a relationship, or a sense of identity or purpose. Loss can take many forms, such as death of a loved one, a breakup or divorce, a major life change like loss of job, or a physical or mental health issue, a natural disaster even. I mean, when we're talking about these things, especially this, when I get to talk about sense of identity, we're talking about like survivors of abuse and how when you're with an abusive partner, you lose your identity. And that is a loss. That's why there is a serious depression after abuse. People go through these same changes of state and emotion as they would for a loss of a partner or a loss of a loved one. So it often involves the feelings of grief, sadness, anger, other intense emotions, as well as like disorientation, confusion, emptiness. Coping with loss can be really challenging, but with time, support and coping strategies and a positive mindset, it's possible to find that path forward and make a new sense of meaning and purpose. So positive mindset can help you through loss by providing you with the coping mechanisms to help you get over that loss, though we never really ever do get over the loss, but it will always be a little thing, not a major thing. So when we experience these range of emotions, like I've said, grief, sadness, anger and despair, that experience of loss, it's important to not acknowledge these emotions. And that's an important part of positive mindset, acknowledging the emotions that we're going through, being honest with yourself and putting your hand up saying, actually, I'm feeling angry. That's okay. It is okay to feel all emotions, including anger. That is a normal cycle of emotions. It's how you act and your behaviors when you are feeling that way that are the important things where you may need to make changes. So acknowledging these and giving ourselves a permission to feel them, it's really, really important. And that will help us to find ways to cope with them so that it doesn't overwhelm us. And we know what happens when we allow things to overwhelm us, or you put a wall up to block those emotions. What happens is that you'll explode at some point, and then you will regret your actions and and things like that, and you'll have to be very apologetic to the people around you if it affects them, or apologetic to yourself. There's no one definitive set of emotional stages of loss that applies to everyone. Everyone will have their own experiences of loss, and it is really highly individual and can vary widely depending on your personality and the circumstances and your culture. Especially with the personality, if we're dealing with, say for example, we're dealing with anger issues in our normal everyday life, well, loss might exaggerate those anger. So anger might be an issue for you when you're dealing with loss. The same goes like if you're already in a depressive state, maybe you're getting medical help regarding that. So a loss may deepen that, and you may need to seek further medical help or support for that. But there are common recognised emotional stages of grief that people go through when they experience loss. One of these stages is denial. Initially, people have difficulty accepting the loss has occurred. They may feel numb, shocked, disconnected from reality. This often happens when loss is sudden. It still can happen if it's not sudden, but more not. Denial becomes an issue when it actually is a sudden thing and you just can't believe it has happened. It could be a loss of a job, you could be retrenched, anything. You could have lost a friend could have just rung you up and blasted you in the ear and said never want to be your friend again, or whatever it can be. So denial is one stage that we can go through. The next stage is anger. I mean, we've talked about anger already, but a lot of people do feel that resentment or irritable or angry, and often it's directed towards ourselves. It can be directed to other people or even at the world at large. I mean, I'm going through my own grief at the moment, which you'll find out at the end of the video what it is, because I don't want to talk about myself in this video today because loss affects everyone. But there have been times here where I just, because I'm feeling that anger, I'm just talking out loud. No one's here. I'm just talking out loud to myself, which is fine. A lot of people say that's a bad thing to do when you talk to yourself, but actually it's quite an intellectual thing to do. Talking to yourself, whether it's out loud, though probably best not to do it in public, or if it's in your mind, then that's quite an intellectual thing to do, and it does help you talk through the issues you're having either internally or externally. So the third type is bargaining. Now this is an attempt to regain control or to make sense of the loss, or engage people in bargaining behaviours such as making promises or trying to negotiate the terms, or try and beg to a higher power to not do it. I mean, often these sorts of feelings might come in divorce, where you don't want your partner to leave or things like that. So, or your loss of a job. It's usually those sorts of jobs you can't bargain with God, unfortunately, if there's a loss or a death. But you can pray for some sort of guidance in that respect, though. I've highlighted this one before. Depression. It can have a full impact of loss when it sinks in. People may feel real profound sadness or hopelessness and despair. And you can actually accompany this with physical symptoms like fatigue, not wanting to get out of bed, change of appetite, either not eating or overeating, or things like that. So you can see physical symptoms, but it's really important to be aware of what is happening. And if you are in a deep depression and you don't feel that you can fix it, and positive mindset strategies are not getting you through, then it's okay to get help from other sources like medical people or friends. Reach out to people. When you're feeling that sad and hopeless, talk to others about what you're going through. The fifth stage is acceptance. over time, we gradually come to terms with the reality of the loss, and we move forward, because life moves forward. It doesn't stop for our loss. Everyday life moves forward. We need to keep earning money to survive and buy food, and we need to keep eating to survive ourselves. Loss, we gradually get over the initial stages of loss. The loss will always be there, and we will feel sad at times, but it will just be it might be a thought or a memory that might make us feel sad, and we'll get over it and move on to the next thing. Loss never goes away. It's always something in our memories. But we can make loss a positive, most definitely, and we'll talk about some strategies to doing that in a minute. But it's important to note that any of these 5 strategies, they're not in order, they're not fixed, and it doesn't mean every person will experience all these stages or in that order, or some people may be lucky enough to deal with it very well. They might be in a very good stage of their life where, yes, they feel sad, but they accept it quicker than other people do, as other people might mourn for longer, and the acceptance stage doesn't come for a while along. It can be quick or slow, and it's also common for people to experience a range of emotions all at the same time. You might get them all. One minute you're angry and the next you're crying because you're sad, or you may fluctuate between them over time. Look, it's important that we use coping strategies, and I often use the positive mindset strategies, turning a negative into a positive. Not all loss can be turned into a positive, but you can look at how you're behaving and say, well, this is good, I'm feeling angry, I need to get this out in a positive way. What coping strategies can I use? What do I use for my positive mindset to help me move forward? So, some of these coping strategies can be like getting support from friends, family, seeking professional help, as I've said before, engaging in self-care activities such as exercise and relaxation, and practicing these stress management techniques. I go for walks. That's how I get de-stress a lot. And then as I've stated before in my other videos, my walks have become gratitude walks. I thank God for the things I do have, and loss will get you thinking that way. You start to look inwards and look at what you are grateful for. So you use these positive mindset techniques to help you. Also, relaxation, mindfulness, getting your head in the right place. But coping with loss isn't just getting through it. We're all going to have to get through it, but it's about an opportunity for growth and personal development. As I've just said, that we experience loss, we're forced to confront our own mortality, or confront situations like, well, I need to find a job because I need to get money. Things that matter most to us. We start to look inward, and it inspires us to make positive changes in our lives. Well, I don't want to end up like that. I always want to make sure I save now, because if I lose my job in the future, I will have savings. You might make better practices so we can grow from loss. Use it as a learning technique, and that is a positive mindset technique. Learn from our mistakes, learn from loss is exactly the same. We can make good changes. You might think, well, a family friend died because they were obese, they didn't exercise, didn't eat well, so I'm going to make sure I exercise, going to make sure I would think about the food that I'm digesting. So it's really, really important. And it might help us pursue goals more urgently than we already had that goal, but we may want to do it more urgently. I need to get this done. And it gives us a reality check in our life. Yes, if it is death, we do look at our own mortality and think that life is really quick. So we need to move forward quickly, not from the loss, but move forward in our lives, achieve the things we want to achieve, rather than stand still. It's okay to rest and stand still and contemplate, but we also want to move forward regularly to help us boost our positive mindset and move on from things like loss and grow from our mistakes. Some of the things that people do when they experience loss: they might start a new career, they might travel the world, deepen their own relationships with loved ones. So it might bring together relationships, thinking, I didn't speak much to them before they died. I need to keep speaking. I'm going to ring my mum more regularly. I'm going to cuddle my children more regularly, tell them I love them. Those types of things. And that's called reframing. So reframing the loss is an opportunity for that growth and doing things and making those choices. And being able to find that meaning and purpose in our own lives from learning about other people's lives or about the experiences that we're going through. So finally, let's talk about mindfulness and how it can help us cope with loss and find that inner peace and be a really good coping mechanism. I use mindfulness and meditation all the time. And when I say the word meditation, I sometimes link it more to mindfulness because it's just the quietening of the mind. It may be true mindfulness is trying to lose distractions and be very in the present moment. But sometimes I just close my eyes, relax. Meditation is not always listening to music and putting on the incense, burning the incense and making a nice surrounding. Other times it's just, I'm just going to sit here, the telly could be on, and I'm just going to quiet my mind, think about what I need to do, make those positive changes, think of the positive things in our lives, and that's what I do. So mindfulness is a practice of being present in the moment, not judging or trying to refocus from distraction. So by focusing on our breath and body sensations, we can keep calm and calm our mind at the same time and reduce our stress. These are the things. So if you're coping with the emotional stages of loss, you can use mindfulness just to quieten your mind. If you're feeling angry, quieten it. Try and think of if it's a loss of a person or something like that. Try and remember some happy moments. If it's a loss of a job, try and think of positive things that you can do to get back into the employment. It's a really, really helpful tool, mindfulness, for positive mindset and for coping with loss. So as I've said, mindfulness can be extremely helpful when we're experiencing those intense emotions like grief or anxiety related to loss. By observing our thoughts and feelings without any judgment, we can create a space for them and allow them to pass. Acknowledge that it is okay to feel angry, sad, have a negative thought because of loss, but then reframing, changing to positive mindset, acknowledging that it is okay. What can I do to do things better? This can help us to find clarity and perspective in these difficult times. So some people find mindfulness or meditation has helped them find a deeper sense of connection to themselves and to others, and a greater appreciation of life's precious moments. And when we experience loss, positive mindset helps us deal with those intense emotions that we've talked about, helps us deal with the everyday moments, because there's going to be times where you may be overly frustrated when something goes wrong. It's the whole world is wrong, because you're feeling lost, you're suffering, you're grieving, and it might be a loss of a friend. As I said, it could be a job. It doesn't always have to be death. You might move a house, you might miss your old house. It can be simple things like that. But you're grieving, so you are going to feel some sort of emotion. We can't tell you what you're going to feel until it happens. But when you're there, try and accept that emotion. Change your negative thoughts. Say, okay, I feel that way, but actually the reality is I'm okay, I'm healthy, I have some money in the bank, I have food in the cupboard, things like that. I have my life, I can breathe. So using positive mindset, changing those negative thoughts, reframing and changing them into positive thoughts can definitely help. So whether you're navigating loss, turning it into growth, or practicing mindfulness or meditation, remember that there's always hope and healing on every side of loss. Find that resilience, find the hope and the inner peace. Use the strategies, use positive mindset, because you can not only survive, but you can thrive in that face of loss. Thanks for listening. Positive and healing thoughts and love and light to you all.